Yo, YouTube, what is up? Welcome back to the Radar for Wrestling Studios.
What up, Marks?
Guys, Monday Night Raw just finished up. We have one takeaway from a show that was pretty much bookend with Randy Orton and Triple H from start to finish. Obviously, Drew McIntyre not there because he was diagnosed with COVID-19, so he's in quarantine. Doesn't put anything in jeopardy in terms of Royal Rumble or his championship run. Obviously, 14 days quarantine, and he's good to go after that. Hopefully, it doesn't get any worse for him, and he's safe and healthy afterwards. But not the best show of Monday Night Raw. We had some interesting things with the Flairs having issues with each other because Lacey Evans there. Weird stuff. You know, Keith Lee continues to look like he's the favorite to win the Royal Rumble. We also have some rumor about Kurt Angle and Matt Riddle towards the end of the episode, so make sure you tune in all the way through and you stay to the end because we're going to drop some information on some rumors with Kurt Angle, why he wasn't at Legends Night last week on Monday Night Raw, and some proposed ideas for him and Matt Riddle. So we'll get into that at the end of the video, but before we get into the video, you guys drop a like on this video, the previous video, so make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're watching and subscribe to the channel. Notification bells, you guys will learn when new videos drop. Follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, all the same handles. Follow me on all those platforms. Links in the description section below. You already know what it is. Click those links, shop to those links, click back to the channel. Without further ado, let's get right into it. One takeaway from Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw started off with Triple H coming out to address Randy Orton. Randy Orton interrupts. I thought it was a tremendous promo from both guys. Randy Orton challenges him to a fight. Reluctantly, he doesn't want to agree, Triple H, but he does knock down Randy after Randy talks some trash, and the match is going to happen at the end of the show. So this is the way the show started off. The segment was okay. It was just a little bit long, and it feels like it was put together last minute just because of Drew McIntyre, but that's what it is. But it was really good stuff.
And we did it, and we heard some cursing. We had some breaking balls all in the segment. So definitely the more adult-oriented USA Raw show is coming up.
Yeah, definitely. And, like I said, both guys, tremendous promos from both. Next thing on the show, we had Charlotte versus Lacey Evans. Last week, we had Lacey Evans, just hitting on Ric Flair and causing Charlotte the match. Charlotte said that her dad was not there during, tonight, but he ended up coming out anyways, and he was there, and he ends up costing Charlotte the match. And now, I guess it's with Lacey Evans. Pretty funny. Yeah. Pretty funny spot there. I don't know what's going on here. Asuka's women's champion, but Charlotte's the bigger star right now, so this all hurts the women's title in the end.
Yeah, it's very weird, especially because Ric Flair held down his daughter's legs to lose the match. Really weird.
Yeah, and then maybe in the end we could see Charlotte take the title from Asuka eventually, and then Lacey and her at WrestleMania maybe. I'm not sure. It seems like Lacey seems to be the bigger star out of everybody here, but whatever. We'll see what happens. Next thing on the show, we had Jeff Hardy versus Jackson Ryker. It was supposed to be Elias at first, but in the end, it ends up being Elias. So the match ends up happening the way it was supposed to, even though there was a beginning part where Ryker and Jeff Hardy are brawling and having a match. Ryker not allowed to help. The charismatic Enigma hits a twist of fate. Swanton Bomb pins Elias. Elias continues to lose pretty much almost every match since coming back. So continues. I mean, I don't know. This is making a lot of sense, but it wasn't great. Next thing, this was another weird one. We had The Miz and Morrison taking on Sheamus and Keith Lee. Sheamus and Keith Lee seemed to be okay, I guess. They were hugging. I mean, they were bumping fists. They would have the match. The top ring rope would break after Keith Lee caused it to break by bumping, crashing into
using his power. Yeah,
against Morrison in the corner. They would get the win, pinning Morrison. So Sheamus and Keith Lee celebrate, they hug, they fist bump, all that stuff. Then they go to commercial break, they come back, and they're having a match against each other. So they're fighting, they're beefing with each other, they're attacking each other. It was what it was.
And then it was like a spirit bomb. Keith Lee wins, and then him and Sheamus have a little hug at the end. So I don't know what the hell's going on with this. I guess
the type of respect thing. I guess it's similar to when Drew and Sheamus started brawling in the backstage, and they're just okay afterwards. I guess something like that. They just have respect for each other. But
I guess they're just trying to really push Keith Lee as this is the guy. So they're just trying to get him over. This is basically what they're trying to do in a weird sloppy way.
Yeah, and later on he would have a backstage segment with Triple H. Keith Lee would talking to Triple H and saying he's in his corner, he's got his back, but Triple H is going to do it himself. So they just continue to push Keith Lee, and again, he feels like just the odds-on favorite to completely win this match, to win the Royal Rumble. He feels like it right now. Next thing on the show, we had T-Bar going against Xavier Woods. I always crack up when I see T-Bar because of who he used to be. It's funny, but in the end, Xavier Woods loses this match to T-Bar, so they're getting some wins underneath their belt. Retribution here and there. They're still a joke. Are they
finally getting retribution?
They're still a joke, but whatever. They're making a lot of sense, but they're still getting their wins, and we'll see what happens to them going forward. Next thing they show is an interesting match of Bobby Lashley versus Matt Riddle, or just Riddle for the U.S. title. It was pretty much like I felt Bobby Lashley was really kicking his ass for the majority of the match. Right? Remember what happened last week? Riddle tapped out, but the referee didn't see, and then Riddle ended up getting the win in this match. he did tap out to the master lock, the full Nelson, and the referee saw it. That was the end of that. So still your U.S. champion Bobby Lashley. Then afterwards, Riddle would challenge MVP and then get his ass beat by both MVP and Bobby Lashley in the end. So that part of the Hurt Business standing strong. No Cedric, no Shelton on the show. So whatever, we'll see what goes on with that. Next thing on the show, we had Drew Gulak versus AJ Styles, because in the back, Adam Pearce segment, you already know, obligatory Adam Pearce segment. AJ Styles talking about Adam Pearce taking on Roman Reigns at the Rumble. Here comes Drew Gulak, says he's going to declare for the Royal Rumble. He says, and then whatever. AJ Styles says he can't do that, but even though AJ Styles did the same thing, I don't know. It's convoluted. It's just to have a match out there for Styles to be out there. It was for Styles to stop this man from getting the his shot in the Rumble.
Whatever. I mean,
it feels pointless from where Drew Gulak was last year at the Elimination Chamber until now. It's a big fall off, but AJ Styles gets the win, so I guess Gulak is not in the match.
Which I mean, it's a 30-man Rumble. You can't have Gulak in the match. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense. Yeah.
Jesus.
Next thing on the show, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax versus Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. This feud continues. Baszler tags herself in, puts the Kirifuda clutch on Mandy Rose, and that was the end of it. Jackson looked too happy because she tagged herself in, but that was pretty much all there is to it. This is a feud that nobody really cares about. Yeah.
Yep.
Just we'll see what happens with the women's tag team titles going into WrestleMania and beyond.
Right now, it's pointless.
Yeah. Next thing on the show is Triple H versus Randy Orton in a fight, in whatever it was, a street fight. They were beating each other up. It was fine. It was what it was. Triple H found a sledgehammer. The lights turn out. Yeah, the lights turn out, and then Triple H is afraid because obviously that means the Fiend might show up, and then all of a sudden Triple H's sledgehammer lights up on fire, and the lights went out, and then Triple H was gone. So he never used it, and then here comes Alexa Bliss. She's in the ring standing behind Randy Orton, and this is takeaway number one, the only takeaway of the show, because it was really the only really interesting thing on a hurry put together show, and that was this picture behind us. Alexa Bliss sending a fireball into the face of Randy Orton, getting her comeuppance on Randy Orton, burning his face. And that's maybe pretty much it. Maybe blinding him, but it was an okay segment. And it's just a weird way to end Raw, but that's the way it ended Raw. It cut to black after, Randy writhing in pain on the floor.
Yeah, again, this was all kind of felt like it was put together because of the fact that COVID, Drew McIntyre, this stuff was bound to happen in this pandemic time. So it happened. They put a show together. Wasn't great. Was what it was. This segment just felt out of place, a little weird, a little rushed. The whole, flame to the face. Yep. It's playing off the fire thing that's been going on. We understand that. But where does this go next week? We'll see. I mean, is he blind? Is he going to have like a mask? Is he going to have like his weird eyes like, glazed out or something? I don't know. We'll see where this goes. But the Fiend is definitely coming back. Will he come back at Rumble? Will he come back next week? Will he come back after the Rumble? We don't know. But maybe they'll slowly bring him back and do it that way. Randy is really the only interesting thing right now going on, going into the Rumble. Everything else is kind of falling flat. Even the Goldberg, they had the Goldberg segment where they were doing that stuff, and that kind of fell flat as well. I don't know. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many places it can go. I'm assuming a big gimmick match for Royal Rumble, Randy versus The Fiend, but that's pretty much all there is there. That was the ending of the show. That was the one takeaway from the show, the fireball into the face of Randy Orton from Alexa Bliss. Pretty interesting way to finish the show. She got her comeuppance. It was kind of out of the blue, out of nowhere. The Triple H match felt like pointless at that point, right? Like, so they just
filler.
Yeah, they just went away from it immediately, and then it just the random fire on the sledgehammer, then he disappears and all that stuff. A lot of stuff going on. Not all of it too great, but it is Monday Night Raw. Not much you can expect from Raw nowadays, but we'll see what happens. 100%. Hopefully we have McIntyre next week for Monday Night Raw and continue the storylines throughout there, but that was Monday Night Raw. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now let's jump into the rumor mill and talk about Kurt Angle. So the rumor mill with Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle was unexpectedly not at Legends Night. People were wondering what's the story with that. He wasn't at Legends Night. Is there issues between Kurt Angle and the company? He was, taken away from the company in April with the COVID-19 cuts. He was one of the backstage agents that they got rid of. We've seen him, he's made appearances since. And then we found out that he came out and said that he had a prior engagement he was committed to, so he couldn't get out to go to Monday Night Raw. So a simple explanation there. But interesting news here is that WWE previously offered him to come back as Riddle's manager, but he turned the opportunity down, which is pretty interesting. I thought that would be kind of a cool combination, maybe, because how entertaining Kurt Angle actually is, and maybe it could mesh well with the wackiness of Matt Riddle or Riddle. But it's pretty interesting. But there is no bad blood between the two, the company and Kurt Angle that we know of. But situation, I guess, timing with Kurt Angle just hasn't been working out. But it would have been pretty interesting to see him come in as the manager for Matt Riddle.
Yeah, again, like you said, like the comedy aspect. Right now, Riddle is a comedy thing right now with his bro, and he in the segments you talk about pizza early on with the Lucha House Party. So it would have been a fun dynamic, I think, with him and Kurt Angle, because Kurt Angle was so good, just off the cuff and having funny, and just he's really entertaining. Going back to him and Stone Cold back in the day, him and The Rock, him and Triple H, just funny stuff. So it would be definitely interesting to see him and Riddle do that. And they got the MMA, style wrestling background. That they can throw in there too as well, and that'd be interesting. And Riddle's kind of he's been in a rut since coming up to SmackDown, then they pushed to Raw, and right now he's kind of just jobbing out to people or just in weird matches and being a joke of the he's just a joke, like the joke of the show. So it definitely would have been interesting. But I mean, whatever. Kurt Angle he retired a few years ago. Maybe he doesn't want to make a full-time thing again. It's his life. He has a bunch of kids. I mean, it is what it is. So what are you gonna do?
I mean, it would have been pretty interesting to see them two together, but at least we know that the reason why he wasn't at Legends Night last week, which didn't make a lot of sense at the time, like why he wasn't there, because he's one of the more prominent ones that have recently come back to the company. But he had prior engagements. But the whole Riddle thing would have been kind of interesting to see that. It would have been good to have Kurt Angle out there on TV, but he turned it down for personal reasons or whatever the case may be. Didn't have time. Didn't want to do the travel, any of that stuff with the COVID-19 stuff going on. So that's pretty much all there is to that. Little tidbit afterwards, I read that Mike Kanellis came out and said the reason he left WWE was because he was hearing backstage that Vince saw nothing in him and was wondering as to why they kept him for so long as they did, if he never saw anything in him anyways. More like I don't want to let you go and make money, I want to make money off of you type of thing from Vince McMahon at that point. But it is what it is. He holds on to to assets as long as he can, because he doesn't really want them to go out and and then make a big splash somewhere else. I mean, he does.
You never know.
He does and he doesn't, because if he may be helping somebody else out in the process, or the good thing is that he lets a guy go like a Drew McIntyre did, comes back and is even more valuable to him in the end. But he doesn't 100%. See anything in Mike Kanellis. That's something I read, a little tidbit there from Mike Kanellis, kind of breaking his silence.
He still got paid to stay home. So
exactly.
He still got paid.
But he ended up getting his release, and hopefully he's gone to bigger and better things. But that's the episode we got for you guys today. Little tidbit on Kurt Angle and Mike Kanellis to end off the show in our rumor mill. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, comment on the video, all that good stuff. Drop them likes because it helps us out in the algorithm, and engage with us in the comment section. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Remember, for the not to the job.